Hey, this is Pat Fenner, and welcome to a special edition of the You Can Homeschool podcast. And I'm so super excited to be talking to my friend Michelle Huddleston in this episode. And she is going to tell us I'll tell you a little bit, I'll give you a little bit of background. The Multi-Ethnic Homeschool Conference is Michelle's brainchild. This is the third year that she's hosting it. Got a great lineup, and I have to be transparent here. I'm one of the lineup, so but it's wonderful company to be in. And so Michelle is taking some time out of her busy day because she's still homeschooling little ones. Oh, Lord bless her. And and I know how hard it is to find some time to do this kind of stuff. So Michelle, good morning. Welcome. Thank you. And why don't you give our listeners a little bit of background on you and the MEHC?
Hey, thanks for having me, Pat. I adore you so much. And thank you for having me on. This is so neat. Out of all the things that I've juggled, having a podcast is not one of them. As crazy as that sounds, you would think I'd have one, but I honestly don't. So I'm glad to be talking with you. So we are talking about the MEHC. All right. So about 4 years ago, well, I started blogging on a business side, so to speak. I've always been blogging. I always call it journaling out loud. But back in 2017 is when I started, I dropped the WordPress from my URL and became with the Huddlestons.com.
A real blogger.
Yeah, that's when you've crossed over, right? In the blogging world, I've dropped the WordPress. But so I became that kind of blogger and quickly dove into hosting events and doing things because that's something I had already enjoyed doing before branding with the Huddlestons. So conference after conference, I started noticing a trend. And me being an African American woman or a Black woman, I don't care to be, politically correct. Me being a Black woman, married to a white husband with biracial children, well, multiracial, is that a word?
Yeah, let's make it one. Who cares?
Right. Just having my kids have some of everything. They're Black, they're white, they're Native American. My husband got his blood work done and he is Middle Eastern somewhere in his system. So, I mean, we just have this cluster. But homeschool conference after homeschool conference, and even dabbling into some of the other kind of conferences, I noticed that there was not a true representation of what the homeschooling community looks like. And I wanted to be, well, I took it to my husband. I was like, babe, it feels very Eurocentric. And, with anything with America, it can oftentimes be one sided. And it's crazy that we're having this conversation now because of the twist that the narrative has taken to now it looks racist and that's not at all, just let me put out that disclaimer. That is not the route I was taking when I approached my husband with, babe, the homeschooling community is just not properly represented. I'm not taking the racist wagon on that. I'm taking the wagon that home education is a very old thing. And it was probably there in the garden. I joke about it, but I'm serious. I can see Adam and Eve using their garden to teach their children. I mean, Cain and Abel, they had to learn how to, so homeschooling it's not a new concept.
Right.
What's new is the fact that it is a worldwide thing that is done in every neck of the wood.
Mhm.
And what had happened, and this kind of gets into our deschooling talk that we had that one time, what had happened is homeschooling was pushed over here because the government knew how to educate our kids better. So homeschooling was over here. Yeah,
Government knew. Got to insert those
yeah,
air
that's
quotes.
right. Right. And so homeschooling got pushed over here, but that didn't stop homeschooling in different communities. You still have Black people homeschooling, white people homeschooling, Native Americans, Hispanics, everybody was still homeschooling. And so I told my husband, I said, babe, homeschooling is super diverse. It is so diverse, but people don't know it because when you look at the curriculum, when you talk to certain people, when you attend specific conferences, it just looks like this. And so I said, I want to change it. I don't know how. I wrote it down in my creative ideas notebook. I wrote down my ideas and I pray about anything I put in there. And I was like, God, you know my heart in this. I'm
Mhm.
not trying to create another thing to be over here. I'm not trying to start something new to be set apart in a way where it's like, oh, she's doing that. No, I wanted to raise awareness that homeschooling is not just an American thing. It's not just a white thing. It's not just a black thing. Homeschooling is as diverse as Abba Father made this world. And that is what I want to show people. So I branched out and I said, I'm going to have to go out of America. Like, I've got to go and find these people who are the advocates for homeschooling in their nations, in their countries, in their communities.
And if I could just have you pause for a second, I have to tell you how amazingly impressive that vision is. I'm sure you've heard this before, but I feel like I need to say that. Um, just uh, to kind of tie in with, I did a Facebook series of Facebook Lives last week about busting homeschool myths. And one of them was, I went there, I said that it's a white thing. It's not a white thing, although that's what you see. And honestly, I've been doing it long enough that when we were first starting, that's who wrote the materials. I mean, I'm not trying to sound racist either. I'm Hispanic, but they were written by white people. I mean, that's just who wrote curriculum.
Mhm.
And over the years, it's been amazing to me, the breadth that I find. But that's only in this country. And then I'm going to let you go back because you're going to see the link under this video or this podcast for Michelle's conference. And she literally has, I mean, she's got a world map. And y'all, she's got people from all over. It's just, you've got to go follow the link just to look at the map. It's just incredible. So I'm going to shut up now and continue with your story, Michelle. I just wanted to say kudos for you for that. That's a great vision. I love it.
Thanks, thanks. And I do have to, I'll work up to this year is even more different than the first 2 years. But I went worldwide and I said, okay, how am I going to do this? And God was like, well, you're already on Facebook, and Facebook is like Google. Just start searching out because there are different sides. I call different sides of YouTube. Like sometimes a song will be playing, and then 5 songs later, I'm like, how did we get on this side of YouTube? And then I have to bring it back. Well, there's sides to Facebook like that too. So if you use Facebook like Google, you can actually search out and find all different kinds of pockets. I can't read the language, but they're there. And so I branched out, and next thing I know, I am connecting with people in the Philippines, connecting with people in every part of Africa, China. And when I hit China, I thought, I have struck gold because nobody who thinks of homeschooling in China. When you hear China, you think like just you can only do what that man says you can do, and don't even go down to the Koreans or what Russia. They're homeschooling in Russia. I didn't get the Russian man this year. I'm still in his inbox quite a bit because I'm like, look, you're gonna look at all these messages and be like, who is this in my inbox? I probably messed that all up. Sorry for the but anyways, so the first 2 years, it did end up looking very Afrocentric. I'm just going to be honest. It looked very African American because a lot of the speakers I had, even though they were representing Congo, Kenya, um, like even more Northern Africa, um, we all still had brown skin. And even though I was hitting my goal of representing homeschooling in the different nations, it still looked very same, just very. And so this year, I said, I don't care about the numbers. I don't care about how many speakers, that's another rat race on the side that, when the back end of everything. Sorry to spill the beans to anyone that's like, oh, don't tell our secret. The whole thing is there's this race of like who can have the most speakers, the
Mhm.
most workshops, the most, this. And I even put that in the description of this conference. I said, we're not about the most. I carefully selected and curated this conference because I wanted the representation to be more real and
Mhm.
more appealing to the eye, so to speak, because and it doesn't look one way or the other this year. But we have Israel. We have a woman from Israel who homeschools in Israel. We have this took me, and I'm getting chills. It took me asking to get in a certain group that I'm probably the only Black person in there, but India. And I'm not talking about Indian as a Native American, India. Her name is
Like,
Tanishq.
wow.
And when she said yes, I thought, but first I had to get into this group. I had to do a search out. And then it took me PMing like 4 or 5 women. And she was the one that reached out to me because she is very heavily involved in the early childhood of her community and homeschooling. And she's teaching parents that they can homeschool their kids in India. And I'm like, thank you so much, Tanish, for joining me this year. But so we have Indian representation. My mom from the Philippines is coming back. My Hong Kong mom is back. I have you now. And I have, just there's a woman from Africa, which I forget, she came in kind of late. So sorry, when you look at the map, there's a couple of spots that I could
Right.
fill in. But then, and then I think a lot of people are familiar with Anna Willis
Mhm.
from,
They call me blessed.
there it is. And she's in Canada. I think she's going to pop in during the live week of the conference because, she is way busier than even I am. So I cannot keep up with her. But, she is worldwide herself. I mean, she lived in Israel, has all these different roots in her, Egyptian, and I mean, just all of this stuff. So it's just really what I had originally envisioned with homeschooling being properly represented because it's a worldwide thing. And that was my goal. And I feel like this year I really hit it. I did have some people contact me. They're like, I missed the signups. And I was like, no, you didn't. I just handpicked this year. I didn't open up signups,
Right.
and ask for a flood of entries. I actually just went to people and was like, this is what I'm doing. Can you be a part? Your face is needed, your knowledge is needed. And then something else that we're doing, I think there's a bus honking, sorry, but something else that I did was kept it just strictly homeschool
Mhm.
because I took some polls. And even though having an online conference with homeschooling and work from home and marriage and parenting, all that, seems all in well, but my people were like, we want to be able to focus on one area of life for this conference. If we could have a voice,
Mhm.
we want to just focus on homeschooling in all aspects of, because while my marriage is important, yes, I want to get help with how do I homeschool multiple kids. One of them has, some type of learning, disability. How do I cater to that? And it's hard for me to compartmentalize even more when that's my primary concern.
Well, especially when you're talking worldwide, when you start talking about adding topics like homemaking and marriage and parenting, it gets so diverse. I mean, there are certain basics, but there's so many cultural influences of that. I mean, my head is kind of spinning just thinking about how somebody would even be able to divide all that up. Yeah, no, I
That's
think
exactly
that's.
right. And
Mhm.
our common ground is homeschooling.
Mhm.
When it comes to homeschooling worldwide, it really there's not a bunch of diversity within that umbrella itself. So I'm
Mhm.
glad you talked about that because Tanishq and her Indian culture probably would make us go like this if she was telling us something about marriage,
Mhm.
because I'm sure it looks a lot, and we even have different things right here in America
Sure.
that we don't, it's like your house, y'all do this, our house, we do this.
Mhm.
But with homeschooling, it's like we're all just trying to home educate our kids with whatever curriculum you want to use,
Mhm.
whatever style or method you choose, whether you mix or match, education tends to, we can all ride that same bus.
My husband for years has always said homeschooling was it was the one place where he felt the far right and the far left could really meet, because really, yes, that we all have different political ideologies and all kind of stuff that makes us different. And while our homeschools all look different as well because of those things and others, those reasons and others, really at the core of it, at the heart of it, is just wanting to do the best for our kids. I mean,
Mhm.
that's really, if you're going to really boil it down to a nutshell, there's different reasons. Some of us feel a faith or religious motivation, whatever our motivations are. The crux of it is we're just trying to do the best job that we can for our kids and raise up a new generation, the next generation.
That's it. So yeah, that's where this baby came from, and I'm really excited, this year for how it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
I have started getting the talks and stuff in, and it's neat. It's really neat to
Well,
just have different
I know I'm
different
thrilled. It's
things.
really, I don't, as far as I can see it, I'm kind of I still keep my pulse on the homeschool world. I don't know that there's anything like this out there. That what you, besides what you're doing. I mean, I think that you kind of got it. So if you're listening to this, I just want to give you some dates real quickly. Early bird registration is coming up. It's unbelievable. It's coming up, isn't it? It's March 17th to 20th, and correct me if I have any of these wrong, Michelle. Regular registration is the 21st to the 26th, and that's also the end date of the conference, correct? The 26th.
Yes.
Okay. So there's going to be some live, there's some pre-recorded workshops. You are going to have, well, I don't, the exact schedule will be in the link that I'll put below this. So you can go and look at this, at your leisure, but it's definitely,
Oh, what I was gonna say, and that's a new thing too, this year, is having that live portion in the conference community group. We are going to have some live talks going on. Excuse me, just because the pre-recorded and the live talks, if you don't get in the group, or you somehow miss those will be downloaded and put into with the pre-recorded as well. I wanted to make that clear, just so people didn't think, oh, I missed that part of it. You won't miss it. It will be put in there. And then I didn't put much emphasis on the digital goodie bag, but of course, there'll be some freebie stuff in there, some discounts that are exclusive to the conference that you guys, the speakers and sponsors, have generously donated.
yeah, that's very, very considerate, because homeschooler, we like a good freebie, a good swag bag.
Yeah.
But that's yeah, that's a good thing. The live ones, hopefully I should be in on one of them. I haven't gotten back to Michelle yet, but the live is, it's nice to be able to attend a live portion of it when you can. But I'm sure the reason Michelle is recording this is because she realizes, as the life of a homeschool mom, you can't plan on having that time when it's free. And so it is nice to be able to pull it up at the end of the day once the kids are in bed with a cup of coffee, and listen to it, even though it's recorded. So thank you for doing that
Mhm.
in advance, Michelle.
Amazing. And thank you for joining us this year. You have so much wisdom. There's you and a couple of other ladies that I hold like up here. Like when they speak, I'm listening, because I know that y'all are just going to bless my life for two
That's
generations.
Well, that's very sweet, but you have a ton of wisdom to offer too, and I feel very blessed to be able to just interact with you and be friends, and like maybe someday we'll meet in real life. Who knows?
No, we will.
That would
We
be too
will.
exciting. All right, well, that's Michelle. Do you have anything you want to leave? Any word of encouragement you want to leave our listeners, our viewers, before we're about done with time to wrap it up, but hit us with something.
Well, the first thing that came to mind was it's okay to homeschool. This is going to rhyme, and I did not mean for it to, but it's okay to homeschool your way. We just get so caught up um, and sidetracked with trying to cross all the T's, dot all the I's. We have Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest showing us what homeschool looks like, through other people's eyes. And it's just really easy to be hard on yourself and to play that comparison game. But you know what? Put your blinders on and homeschool your way according to your unique family dynamic. And you can't go wrong with that.
That's a beautiful note to end of this. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Michelle. And y'all, thank you for tuning into this special edition of the You Can Homeschool podcast. I really hope that you check out the resources that I put in the notes. If you're watching the video, I'll put them below this video as well. And definitely check out the Multi-Ethnic Homeschool Conference. I guarantee that you will be blessed by it. There will be something in there that God will just give you one of those aha moments, and you certainly won't regret it. He uses it all. He doesn't waste anything. All right, y'all. Well, we will catch you next week. We'll be back on schedule next Tuesday, so make sure you tune in. As always, as well, too, please like and rate and review us. That's kind of the life of a podcaster. Runs on those things. So if you haven't rated or reviewed us in a while, please go ahead and do so. And we will catch you next week. This is Pat Fenner for Breakthrough Homeschooling, just with this last reminder that Mama, you can homeschool. Take care, y'all.